الله أكبر الله أكبر. This is the feast of victory for our God. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
For years, these sounds symbolize division, two communities separated by faith, often clashing over their differences. But now, something extraordinary is happening. A group of believers gathers in a neutral space, reading from both the Quran and the Bible, praying together as one. This is Chrislam, a faith that seeks to bridge the chasm between Christianity and Islam. How did such a movement emerge in a world often defined by religious divisions? This is the story of Chrislam, a unique and controversial belief system born from the desire for peace and unity. Chrislam was born in Nigeria, a nation divided between Christianity and Islam, where centuries-old tensions had often led to violence and distrust. The rise of Chrislam can be traced to two Nigerian leaders in the late 20th century, Tila and Sikiru Adatona. These men shared a vision of religious harmony, where both Christians and Muslims could coexist and worship together without abandoning their respective beliefs. Rather than creating a new religion, Chrislam sought to blend the best aspects of Christianity and Islam. The central idea was to focus on shared values, monotheism, charity, and peace, while setting aside the theological differences that often sparked conflict. At its heart, Chrislam is built around shared beliefs that unite Christianity and Islam. Here's a closer look at its core teachings. Both Christianity and Islam worship one God, and Chrislam emphasizes this commonality. Adherents believe in the worship of a singular, all-powerful deity, whether referred to as God in Christianity or Allah in Islam. The aim is to focus on the similarities in the worship of the same divine presence. Chrislam treats both the Bible and the Quran as holy texts. Followers see these scriptures as two distinct but complementary sources of divine wisdom. During worship services, both the Bible and the Quran are read aloud, with passages from each text offering moral teachings that are sometimes strikingly similar. Both Jesus and Muhammad are revered in Chrislam. While Christians believe Jesus to be the Son of God, and Muslims view Muhammad as the final prophet, Chrislam focuses on the shared moral teachings of these two great figures, such as love, compassion, and devotion to God. The ultimate goal of Chrislam is to promote unity and peace between Christians and Muslims, especially in regions where religious conflict has been prevalent. It teaches that humanity should look beyond doctrinal differences and work together for the common good. The rituals of Chrislam are a fascinating fusion of Christian and Islamic traditions, designed to bring people together without requiring them to abandon their beliefs. Here's a deeper dive into how Chrislam's rituals embody its core values. One of the central rituals in Chrislam involves reading from both the Bible and the Quran during services. For example, a sermon might begin with a passage from the Gospel of Matthew, such as the Beatitudes, and follow with a recitation from the Quran, such as Surah al-Fatiha. These readings emphasize shared values such as mercy, humility, and justice. They serve as reminders that both scriptures teach the importance of love for one's neighbors, compassion for the poor, and worship of a single God. Prayer in Chrislam blends Christian and Islamic forms of worship. Some participants may choose to pray in the style of salat, the Islamic form of prayer that involves bowing and prostration, while others may recite prayers like the Lord's Prayer from the Christian tradition. A Chrislam service may feature salat-like prostrations, physical submission to God, with worshippers facing a designated direction of prayer, like the Kaaba in Mecca, to reflect the Islamic tradition of physical humility. Meanwhile, prayers may include extemporaneous Christian petitions or readings from Christian liturgies, such as the Lord's Prayer, emphasizing a direct, personal communion with God. Chrislam services are held in neutral spaces, avoiding religious symbols that may alienate participants. They often take place in community halls or outdoor spaces to provide an inclusive environment for both Christians and Muslims. The service may begin with Christian hymns like Amazing Grace, followed by a Quranic recitation or prayer. The sermons delivered during these services blend teachings from both faiths and encourage believers to focus on shared moral teachings. Charity is a vital practice in Chrislam, as it is in both Christianity and Islam. In Chrislam, acts of service are not merely good deeds, they are expressions of worship. Followers often engage in charitable activities, such as feeding the hungry, building homes, or providing education. Zakat, charity, from Islam and Christian charity both feature prominently in Chrislam's teachings. Community service is seen as a way to live out the spiritual ideals of both faiths. Chrislam incorporates fasting practices from both religions. For example, Chrislamic followers might observe Lent, a Christian period of fasting leading to Easter, alongside Ramadan, the Islamic month of fasting. This fasting isn't just for self-discipline but as a spiritual practice that reminds the believer of the importance of charity, compassion, and devotion. Chrislam celebrates both Christian and Islamic holidays. Christmas is celebrated with joy and reflection on the birth of Jesus Christ, while Eid al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan with feasts and prayers of gratitude. Easter and Eid al-Adha both serve as times for reflection on sacrifice and the renewal of faith. For Chrislam followers, these celebrations are not about one faith overriding the other but about finding common ground in the universal themes of devotion and gratitude. One of the most powerful rituals in Chrislam is the practice of dialogue and reconciliation. This is especially important in regions where religious violence and conflict have caused deep divisions between communities. Through dialogue, Chrislam seeks to heal wounds by facilitating conversations between Christians and Muslims. These sessions often involve joint prayers and shared meals, which symbolize the effort to overcome past differences and rebuild trust. Interfaith education, where community members are encouraged to learn about each other's faiths, helping dispel misconceptions and foster understanding. Chrislam's rituals and teachings are not without their critics. Some Christians feel that Chrislam undermines the unique and salvific role of Jesus Christ in their faith, while some Muslims argue that Chrislam distorts the core tenets of Islam. Many religious institutions view Chrislam as syncretic, an attempt to combine two fundamentally different religions, which, in their view, could lead to doctrinal confusion. Despite the criticisms, Chrislam has had a profound impact, especially in areas of Nigeria and other African regions, where religious conflict is frequent. The movement has brought together Muslims and Christians in a spirit of unity, providing a model for peaceful coexistence. Through its rituals and services, Chrislam fosters community cooperation and understanding, encouraging followers to focus on shared values of love, service, and devotion to one God. Thanks for watching.